Hey, I'm Randy Parmer, and for those of you who just joined, I'm Randy Parmer. This is Coffee and Conversation. I'm talking with Brad Riley. Brad is a minister, an author, a counselor, and BradRileyMinistries.org. He's talking to us about his book that he has written. Brad has performed over 1,000 funerals. He's been active in counseling and other areas of ministry, but his book, A Presence in the Dark, Finding Hope in Death. We discussed why we are here and what is life, the first part of it. You just said that in the second part of this is that becoming what others need. That is an important part.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Randy, it is. When we realize what life is really all about and that we're carrying the breath of God within us, and we realize it's because He loves us. He shared the breath of life with us because He loves us. Then it gives perspective to what I think is the greatest need of humanity. Mm-hmm. The greatest need of humanity, I think, is to realize that we are really never alone. Loneliness plagues our world. Amen. I know you had a ministry to single adults back in the day when we worked together. The realities of loneliness. Chronic scientists, doctors, statisticians tell us that chronic loneliness can add. It can decrease our lifespan by up to almost 15%. Yeah. Chronic. People can feel alone in a room full of people. We can be married and have families, and there's so much this idea of being alone. When we recognize that we're really never alone, God is always with us, even if we're not thinking we're with Him.
Right.
Okay. Then we recognize that this is a life that needs to be shared. We need to be able to touch other people's lives. We need to be able to move out and become what I call incarnational living. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ, the only way God was going to really bring us hope, right, was to become like us. He was our God. We were His creation. We messed up, and there's all kinds of things going on there. But ultimately, the only way that He could really help us and to bring us the hope we needed was to become like us in the incarnation. Jesus, God, became flesh and became like us so that we could one day become like Him. And in that process, I think what it teaches us is we've got to learn to be incarnational for others. We've got to become what others need. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not what we want. Or I tell this story. I love to tell this story. The best illustration I can give of that. My daughter, she's now 22 years old, but when she was about 10, we started going to concerts, and there was this particular Disney TV show that she just loved, and the artist on the show was a singer and had a singing career too. And she said, "Dad, there's a concert. So and so is going to be in concert in Oklahoma City. Well, we live in Wichita, Kansas. Can we go? And I'm like, well, it's in Oklahoma City and she said, it's free, Dad. I said, okay, it's free. We're going to drive down. So we drive down there to this concert, and I figure out why it's free. Because it's standing up outside in a tent is where it's at. Everybody's standing. We get there. We're in the very back. There's no way my little 10-year-old can even see this little TV star on stage. And so what I did is I picked her up and I held her on my shoulders the whole show. Now, I didn't, it wouldn't have been my choice to go to that show. It wouldn't have been my choice to do that. But because I love my daughter, I became incarnational for her. I became something I wasn't so that I could be what she needed. That's just a simple story of saying, that's something we can live out every day. Instead of just always looking for what it is that we want in life and what we want to do that feeds us. What about being what others need? That's incarnational living.
And so that other, that could be a listening ear, a hand.
Exactly.
A hand. Guidance, a friend, those types of things. Yes.
And in the context of a funeral, what I found out as a minister, what they needed was they didn't need me to come and preach the gospel to them at that funeral. What they needed for me to do was to come and be the gospel for them in the process of planning, and to come alongside them help them to know that they mattered. They mattered to God and they mattered to me. And it didn't matter whether they were, I mean, I've done this I've literally done funerals for atheists. And somebody once asked me, and I say in the book, what does a minister have to say that brings hope to an atheist? Well, I found the only way to do it is to love the family that's left and say, hey, none of us truly knows our eternal state. Only God knows the human heart. And God, something my old pastor when I was young taught me, God is too wise to do wrong and too good to make a mistake.
Wow.
We can trust our loved ones' eternity to God.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, God is too wise to make a mistake and too wise to do wrong and too good to make a mistake. So we can trust our loved ones' eternity to God.
Amen. Yeah, great thoughts, Brad, on that, about becoming what others need. And I put it up here, you said they did not need you to preach the gospel, but to be the gospel. And that's applicable in so many ways. And I struggle with that. You get a phone call from someone or you encounter someone.
Yeah.
We did a conversation last week with Sandy Griffin. She's an advocate for the homeless. And we talked about that. And one of the things I know in that situation, what is our first desire often is to, want to preach the gospel to someone. And and if for my family members that are listening, or maybe watch this, because I know sometimes you contact me and my first instinct maybe is I want to preach the gospel to you. And you're like, you don't need that. You need, hey, Uncle Buck, I just need you to listen to me right now.
They may not be receptive to it at that time, but they're always, if the essence of the gospel is love,
right?
Jesus teaches us that the greatest thing we can do, love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and others. So the reality is, if that's the truth, and we know it is, then the greatest thing I can do to really share the gospel with them is to show them how much they're loved, just for who they are. For who they are.
That is so true, Brad, and thank you.